having used interactive brokers for a number of years myself now, in today's video, I want to share with you my honest opinions and all the pros as well as cons of the platform and why I still use it. In fact, it's actually my biggest broker where I have the majority of my holding. It has a lot of plus and benefits to using it, but of course also, as you will hear later in the video, a few points that you should keep in mind when you sign up with it, which may make it not the best broker for you. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Kai. I'm a former luxury hotel general manager who turned finance enthusiast and YouTuber, now making content about all things money, finance and investing. Now this video is not sponsored in any way. That's why I can honestly and openly share my opinion and don't have to comply to any corporate norms or they tell me what I should be saying. And obviously I put my hard-earned money in that broker myself. So this is not something I did a few months ago, but as I said, many years since I've been using them. And obviously there must be a reason behind it. Now, of course, if you do end up liking the broker and opening an account with it, there will be a little kickback for me, which of course supports the channel. And I would really appreciate that. But in no way, shape or form will this influence my opinions, which I'm going to share with you in this video. Let's do this. Now let's start off with the pros why I'm recommending and using interactive brokers myself. And the first one is of course their long legacy and history of operations, right? They're now in their 47th year of operation. Now you name me another broker with such a long track record. I mean, I don't really know any unless you consider some banks which happen to have, stock brokerage later on. But as a pure stockbroker, I believe they're one of the oldest ones in the world, which is not always a good thing, but in their case, for me, really gives confidence that they know what they're doing. I mean, operating for so many years, they've really gone through a lot of crises and difficulties over the years. The capital they're managing now $15.2 billion. So it's really not a startup that's just come out and try something new. They really know what they're doing. And for me, that really gives confidence because obviously the more money I hold over there as my portfolio grows, I want to sleep peacefully at night. And seeing all that definitely calms me down knowing that my money will be safe. You see here, it was founded in 1977 by Thomas Petterfee. I hope I pronounced it correctly. And yeah, all the history over here, even organizational structure, how it is set up. And you see public stakeholders. And that's yet another pro why I like interactive brokers, because many people don't actually know that interactive brokers themselves is actually a stock listed company. They are listed on the Nasdaq. The ticker symbol is IBKR, and you can actually buy shares in them. So it's a publicly traded company, which really makes them subject to a lot of audits, scrutiny by the public, by investors, and really they have to deliver. They can't just do random stuff and then one day they crash because nobody looked into them. They're really subject to all these audits. So for me, that once again gives confidence. And not only that, if I pull up IBKR over here on Seeking Alpha, which is my stock research platform of choice, you see here, if I go down and compare it to the S&P 500 over 10 years, it actually outperformed the S&P 500, which not many companies managed to do. Look at this. S&P 500 returned 247% over 10 years. That's total return, including dividends, while IBKR actually returned almost twice that at 457%. So, I mean, just impressive that as a broker, they're really profitable. And for me, that's good to see, right? You don't want to have a broker that gives everything for free, but then after a few years, they can't operate anymore because they can't pay salaries and the company goes bust, right? So as nice as it is sometimes to have commission-free brokerages, in the long term, is that really sustainable? And in their case, the answer definitely is yes, they're doing things very much right. Now, another thing I like about interactive brokers and why I recommend it to so many people is the fact that they're available over 200 countries. Now, I didn't know that there are even 200 countries out there, but it probably includes smaller regions and so forth. But yeah, pretty much in most countries in the world, you will be able to open an interactive brokers account, which is really amazing, right? A, it reaches more people, and B, for me, very important, I started my interactive brokers account in Europe, but then I moved to Dubai, so I can easily transfer it over there as well. So it's very easily, if you move around in different countries around the world, you want to have a broker that's available in all those countries. Otherwise, you have to constantly close one, transfer your portfolio to another broker, and it's a little bit more cumbersome. So the fact that they are truly global brokerage for me is really appealing. Another great thing that I really like about interactive brokers is that there's no inactivity fee. Now, they used to have it, I believe, in the past, but then they stopped it a while ago. And now if you don't trade for a while, you won't be charged. That's totally fine. You just leave your money there and there's no inactivity fee or even portfolio fee that you have to pay on a monthly or annual basis. And I've seen quite a few brokers that will charge you a small percentage of your portfolio size, or they will charge you a fee or a flat amount if you don't trade for a while. And that's actually really bad to see. So I'm glad that interactive brokers doesn't do that. Now, in terms of commission, they're also one of the cheapest brokers out there. Now, granted, they're not completely commission free but the commissions that you can find over here on the pricing page is really very, very competitive. Now there are two pricing structures depending on which plan you're on, but for most people I would recommend to go with a tiered plan. For me, I found it cheaper depending on your volume, but for most regular people, under a couple of thousand per month, you might actually be better off on the tiered plan. You can change it within the settings inside the Interactive Brokers platform. You can switch back and forth. And then, for example, you would see if you buy US based stocks, you pay 35 cents per share, which honestly is super attractive. And yeah, I was very happy buying that. Yes, there are some that are completely commission free, but sometimes they have a higher spread or a high foreign exchange rate conversion fee. So I feel really confident with their pricing. And ultimately, when I pay this, I know it's also good for the broker that they continue to operate. Because once again, if there's no fees, then the question is, how does the broker actually make money? Another really cool feature I love about Interactive Brokers is the ability to transfer your portfolio either into Interactive Brokers, which a lot of brokers allow because obviously they want to manage your money, but also the fact that you can transfer your portfolio out of Interactive Brokers to a list of different brokers. That's really powerful. And I think any good solid broker should have that ability to do it in and out of the brokerage. So that's really important, and make sure your broker has that option. The next benefit of Interactive Brokers is the fact that you can trade pretty much anything on there. Most things that you want to buy, you can buy them on Interactive Brokers. You see over here a list of them: stocks, ETF, warrants, structured products, options you can buy, futures, FOPs, I don't even know what that is, forecasts and event contracts, spot currencies, cryptocurrencies, metals, bonds, mutual funds, a lot of options. And even within each of them, for example, the stocks and ETFs, right? Some brokers, they have a limited number of those. Here, pretty much anything I look for, I would always find it on Interactive Brokers. The same can't be said for all other brokers I'm using. So really you have such a wealth of assets that you can try and buy, which honestly is super powerful. Of course, all your Teslas, Nvidias and Amazons you will find on most brokers, but if you want something more exotic, for example, to buy a share in Korea, Japan, or in Europe, which is not maybe on all the other stock brokers, most likely chances are that you will find them on Interactive Brokers. Now, another amazing feature about Interactive Brokers is their research tools. You find so much information for free as soon as you have an account. Obviously, here we are inside of my Interactive Brokers account. And for example, I would just have to go over here on fundamentals and you will see a host of information that you can find. It really pulls data from so many data sources, a little intro about the company, the dividends, financials over here, also some nice graphs. They really developed it nicely over the years. In the beginning, it was very cumbersome, but it's been getting better and better. The events coming up, the earnings calls, ownership structure over here, competitors, social sentiment, short selling, securities lending. From here, you can dive into all the various things, the company profile, key ratios to really get an overview of how the company is doing, the dividends. You have a whole section on that over here, the payout ratio, what have you. So honestly, yeah, ownership, I can go into this over here, see who are the owners, even the institutions, and even see, for example, insiders, what they've been trading, have they been buying, selling. I see all of that over here inside. It's really powerful. So technically you don't even need another resource to do your stock research. You can all do this from within Interactive Brokers, and most other brokers are much more limited. Now, some people may like that they have less information to worry about, but if you want to get the information out of it, definitely you get amazing insights out of this over here. Even things like social sentiment, which is really powerful. You can see here how a stock is trending or not over time. Really, really impressive that you get this basically free of charge because the account opening doesn't cost you anything. So you can technically just open an account just to have access to that over here. Another cool thing is that you can do paper trading, which is basically a demo account where you don't have to use your own money. You get, I understand, $1 million from them. Of course, it's all virtual money. It doesn't really exist, but just for you to start trading, get a feel for it, explore the platform. So I think that's really cool. Not every broker has that. And I think it's really nice that you can have that option if you want to just start dabbling around with trading. And then if you enjoy it and make a bit of money, you can later on switch to a real account and start trading your own money. Another great thing is that they pay interest on your uninvested cash. So if you have cash sitting over there, currently you can get up to 4.83% interest on your USD holding, which is quite competitive. Now, I have other brokers that pay me up to 5.3%, but still, that's pretty juicy interest that you can get. However, one thing to keep in mind, as it says over here, there will be no cash paid on the first $10,000. So if you have less than that sitting on your account, then there won't be any cash paid on that. Yeah, you see this over here very clearly. Anything over 10,000 euros will then be getting 4.83% interest. Or depending on which plan you're on, if you're on the IBKR Lite plan, it will only be 3.83. And on your euros, for example, right now you get only 3.17 or 2.17, depending on which plan you're on, which honestly is not the best. I think purely for the interest, there are much better options out there. But still, if you have a big chunk of cash sitting over there waiting to be invested, then it's still nice to benefit from that high interest in the meantime. Of course, another huge point for any investment platform that you choose is the fact that they have solid fund and client protection in place. And once again, I would say Interactive Brokers is the gold standards when it comes to that. Again, depending where you registered, it's hard to comment on all of them. They have different levels of fund protection, so just make sure you double check this wherever you're based. They're regulated in all those places that they're operating and usually tend to be one of the highest protected broker out there. They have strong SIPC insurance for your US holdings as well. So really, really solid broker. And that's probably for me one of the biggest reasons why I went with them in the first place. I know my funds and money and investments are safe with them. And lastly, because they have so many users around the world for so many years, it is a hugely popular broker out there. And the great thing is that also builds the community. And there's so much information out there around Interactive Brokers. If you get stuck with anything, you will find YouTube videos about this, Instagram Reels. Oh, and by the way, yours truly also making content around this topic. So yeah, you see a wealth of information, which is also important, right? Because you don't want to have a new broker that nobody has talked about or any experience. I think that's very important. And just once again confirms that Interactive Brokers is doing something right. And that's yet another reason why I've been with them for so long. But not everything in life is always rainbows and butterflies, right? There are definitely a few things that I think they should work on improving going forward to become an even better broker in the future. And the first one has to do with the account opening. Now, I know a lot of people, they wanted to sign up with Interactive Brokers, but halfway through they found a little bit too complicated and overwhelming. And yes, it's definitely not the easiest or most straightforward opening that I can imagine. Personally, I opened many different brokers just to try them out. I found most of them to be much faster. So I think here they could definitely simplify the sign-up process, but at the same time, it's also not that complicated. There are a few more steps, maybe a few more documents that they ask about to make sure they don't get some dodgy people in there. So it's nothing unusual. Like when you open a bank account, they also might ask you a few more questions than if you sign up with Revolut or what have you, right? But ultimately, yeah, this could be streamlined a little bit more, but at the same time, I don't think it should be anything from stopping you to go with them, because once you've done that and you've been approved long term, I think the benefits it definitely offers are worth the little struggle during the sign-up process. The second part has to do with the interface, which, as I said, has improved over the years, but still in many ways, especially for beginners, they might really be overwhelmed by all the amount of information you can get from here. So many reports that you can get, statements, it really offers a lot. Definitely it can take a while to get used to it. You see so many different numbers over here, which, yeah, it takes a little bit getting used to. The learning curve might be a bit steeper than with some other brokers, which are more intuitive, let's say. But once you get the hang, it's actually really powerful because you get more information, as I said. But in the beginning, I do understand that might be a little bit overwhelming, depending on where you're coming from. If you're just starting off your investment journey, then it might be a little bit too much to handle, but nothing that can't be learned. I made a number of videos around how to use Interactive Brokers. If you watch them, I think you will get the hang of it. And that brings me to another con, is once again the complexity of having so many tools out there, which is great on the one hand side that you have different options for different traders. But look at this. These are all the various tools and platforms that they have in place. You have the IBKR desktop platform. So if you want to have it on your desktop, you can use that. You also have the IBKR Trader Workstation, TWS, which is really for traders, day traders, option traders, what have you. So that's really complicated. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you're day trading. Then you have different apps, 3 apps in total, the IBKR mobile app. You have the IBKR Global Trader app, which is really the best app for most people. It's more sleek and clean and user-friendly rather than the IBKR Mobile, which is basically the web version, but on the app, so a bit more complicated. Then you have the IBKR Client Portal, which I use mostly. This is what I've just shown you online. That's what most people will be using on their web browser. And in fact, there's one more app that I didn't show it over here, but that's the IBKR Impact app, which is basically focusing on ESG investing. So you see all the various apps, what they can do and so forth. So once again, it's just adding that extra level of complexity. With most other brokers, you have one app and one web interface, and that's about it, right? So yes, it's great to have options for different brokers and different skill sets. But in the beginning, if you're a first-time investor, you don't even know where to start, what to download. Can I use the same logins everywhere? Which, by the way, you can use. So yeah, it's just something to know. But once you get a hang of it, it's actually straightforward and you find out which is your favorite tool to use. Now, another drawback is once again the point of commissions. While I said it is quite a cheap broker, there are many brokers out there that charge way more than Interactive Brokers does. So I'm really happy with that. But of course, at the same time, you do have some commissions, right? With other brokers out there, such as Trading 212 and others, they don't charge you any commission. So if that's super important for you, if of course you invest 20 euros or 50 euros in a month, then yes, €1 commission might not be so attractive for you, right? Because that's quite a high percentage out of your investments. Now, if you invest 1,000, 2,000 euros a month and then end up paying $1 or $2 for that in commission, I think that's really reasonable, knowing that you get amazing experience with a broker where your funds are safe. So something to answer to yourself. If you have a very little budget, then yes, definitely something to keep in mind as your budget grows. And I think that's one of the powers of interactive brokers. They can actually grow with you, and then as a percentage, that commission actually becomes very little and less meaningful. Now, another drawback I could potentially see with interactive brokers is the funding. Now, it does take a little bit longer to send the money than with some other brokers, especially if you're European. Normally you send and you have it a few seconds or minutes, or worst case, next day in your account, ready to be traded. With interactive brokers, it's a little bit more tricky, again, depending which currency you're sending. But when I send, for example, dollars, it does take a couple of days for me to arrive in my account. Actually, I made a whole video about this. You can check it out afterwards, showing you the best ways and cheapest ways to deposit and start trading with that money. But that's just something to keep in mind. If speed of depositing money is super important for you, then there might be other options. But at the same time, now that I know it takes a little bit longer, I just send my money a little bit earlier before I want to invest it. And usually I end up sending a larger amount, so I have enough money sitting there to use for the next couple of weeks. And the last drawback I could see with the platform is especially for dividend investors. Now, if you love dividends, you want to see your income grow over time. And there's actually only one very small section over here in projected income where you see your dividends and estimated for the next year. But honestly, the visualization is not really that great, and I don't see the payouts. Whenever there's a payout, I get a little notification over here, but I don't get, for example, an app notification on my phone seeing, all the stocks that have paid me a dividend, and just find it a little bit clunky. So instead, what I do, I actually connect my interactive brokers account with GetQuinn, which is a great tool that helps me to allow different portfolios. You see over here, I have my Trading 212 account over here, as well as my interactive brokers account. So I have an aggregated view where I see all the various brokers that I have. If you have 5 more, you can all see it in one app and dashboard, which you can also have on your phone. So that makes things so much easier rather than having to log into each of them and then track them manually, add it all up. And then the cool thing is also over here in the dividends, I can really see easily how my dividends are growing year over year over year. Then per month, basically, when which company is paying me, how much I'll be getting in which month. So I find it a much easier way. I see exactly the date when they're paying me, the growth year over year. So I find it so much more insightful than interactive brokers. But once again, the great thing is most of those platforms, I tried a number of different net worth trackers and stockbroker trackers. While obviously they can't feature all the brokers out there, pretty much all of them will most certainly feature interactive brokers because it's such a popular broker. So that's almost a must for them to support them. Otherwise, the platform doesn't make sense. In fact, over here, you can see on Seeking Alpha, I've also actually auto-linked my interactive brokers holding. So now whenever I buy or sell something, it's being reflected over here. And from here, I can click into any of the holding and then get obviously further information about that stock or ETF. So it's just so powerful. And one thing it just shows you, because interactive broker being such a global stockbroker, it just natively integrates with so many different platforms. And I really love it. Well, there you have it. My whole list of pros and cons. And yeah, as I said, obviously not everything is perfect with them. But if I zoom out and look at the big picture and compare it to other brokers out there, while there are some things that definitely need to improve on, overall, their safety, history, being global, having low fees, so many factors about interactive brokers that just make me stay with them, continue using them, knowing that my money is safe with them. I'll continue to grow my portfolio, and wherever I move in the world, most likely I'll be able to use them as my broker of choice. Now, in addition to them, I still use some other brokers, mostly Trading 212 and Lightyear, but of course there's some other great options out there as well. Next up, you can check out this video over here where I'm gonna run you through the interactive brokers platform and really show you how you can buy and sell any stock or ETF to really get a better understanding of the platform. Thanks a lot for watching, stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!